what was set to be just another casual Saturday afternoon harvesting, I was down here at the bin site and I was starting to crawl inside our grain pit because we were getting too much grain fed inside. So I had the big heavy cover lifted off of it. The next thing I knew, I was crawling down the ladder. The cover came back, hit me in the side of the face. Eventually had blood coming out the side of my face. Thankfully, my older brother Matt was home for the weekend at the farm. He rushed me into town. Next thing I knew, I'm on 6 weeks of not being able to basically drive equipment, not being able to bounce around because I fractured my cheekbone. So it's been a wild harvest so far, but honestly, if I show you guys how big and heavy that this steel grate was that came down and got me in the face. Here's the cover that came down and got me. You can see how big and heavy that is. I'm very thankful and fortunate that it wasn't any worse than what it was. Fortunate that it didn't get my eye. Fortunate that it didn't knock me unconscious. Fortunate for a lot of different reasons because, like I said, that thing weighs 400 or 500 pounds. It could have been a lot worse. Thankful that my brother was here. Thankful for just a lot of different things this harvest season. Obviously, since then, I haven't done 0 tractor operations here at the farm. Basically, I've been inside the house, done a little bit of computer work, but mostly just trying to heal and get better. And since the accidents happened, it's made me just that much more aware of all the great things that I'm blessed with in my life, such as great friends, great family, all of you guys that help support the channel. You know, it means a lot to me. And I really realized it even more when my life was slowed down the last 3 weeks. And the farm stuff is still continuing. My parents have still gone on. They're still harvesting. And there's a great sense of guilt that goes with that since they're harvesting my fields. And I think if you don't farm, the closest thing I could relate it to is if you're getting excited to go on a big family vacation, night before you get sick, your family keeps sending you photos of all the great times they're having. That's kind of what it feels like for me since I'm not able to do any of the actual work, physical labor. I have another at least 4 or 5 weeks before I'm supposed to start doing any heavy lifting. So the content's gonna look drastically different here in the future, just until I can get back to 100% doing everything I love, everything I wanna do. But I know there's better days ahead. I'm thankful, like I said, it wasn't any worse. And for the rest of today's video, I'm gonna send it over to my brother Matt, who raced me to the ER the day of the accident. He's gonna show you guys what corn harvest video that he took. And I, again, wanna thank you guys for the support. Don't worry about me, I'll be back. I honestly questioned even sharing the accident with everyone, but I thought, you know, I wanna show what real life farming is. This is real life. The reality is, I've been sitting in the house for the last 3 weeks. I got another couple weeks. I won't have to sit in the house, but I'm gonna have to be slower, not on my feet as much. But I wanted to show it, so with that, thank you everyone for your support. I'm gonna send it over to Matt. Dad and I are taking off from the farm here this morning. Gonna go hand shell a few ears, see how the moisture of the corn looks, and if we're hopefully able to get started again in corn harvest. All right, so we just grabbed 6 random ears here. We'll now see what we can do from a moisture standpoint. So first, what we've got to do is just break these bad boys in half and start filling up our bucket now with all of our corn. So we hand shelled 2 buckets, different buckets of corn here, one from each field. I just dumped the first one in, and we'll now see what it's going to tell us from a moisture standpoint on some of this corn. So definitely by hand shelling it, it certainly felt dry. 14.4 moisture. All right, so this would have been coming out of, bucket A. Based off hand shelling a few ears of corn, sounds like we are good to go. Of the 2 fields that we had, one was 14.4, the other one was 14.1. So Dad is geared up now. He will start heading that way with the combine. Mom is heading towards the grain cart. I'm
I'm gonna grab one of the semis, start blowing that off, making sure that we're good from an oil, from a coolant standpoint, and I will follow them out there shortly. So we are rolling on some corn. Verify our coolant looks good, and it does. Truck's all ready to go, Dad. Just let me know when you want me to take off from the yard.
Yeah, I hate you, but you want to just bring a pickup over here. Just I'm on this north end here. I just want to make sure I know I'm losing a little bit of grease.
I just got the radio call from Dad and asked me just to come out there with the pickup, ride around with him. Honestly, since I'm just helping her out during the busy times, I know and the way the technology continues to evolve and upgrade equipment, all those sorts of things, it seems like I know just enough to be dangerous on, I can confidently operate everything, but as far as diagnosing any issues, I'm really just there for running after stuff or whatever I can limitedly do. So I was just thinking about it this morning. There's actually just a number of phrases that I find myself saying whenever Dad is talking about issues, and it's a lot of or yeah, that makes sense, or I don't know, that's odd. So we'll see if I can find myself saying any of those today, because it seems like it happens a lot, and I just realized that that is about all that I'm good for. So, but I'm not gonna admit to that. I'm thinking that. So just got out joining Dad here in the combine as he's opening things up. And Dad, you said you think you're having issues with the static electricity?
Yeah, we got some issues here. We got a strong northwest wind. We're opening up these headlines here. Periodically, the static electricity charge will actually just have the stalks and just rest on the head. So they're not feeding in, but I got a aftermarket disc I put on there. It's supposed to deaden that a little bit. So we're going to set that up and see if that works.
Yep, that makes sense. Here's that static disc we're running under the corn head that's supposed to help with the static electricity. So we're testing out a few different things, seeing if that is to our benefit. I know we talked to one of the kind of friends up further north, and he said he's been running into some of the same issues, so just a trial by error. So now I'm just driving the combine ahead. Dad's following along, if you can see him in our rear view mirror. And he's just checking how everything looks behind the combine. So one major thing as we start, whether it's corn, whether it's soybeans, is making sure that we have the combine settings set appropriately. So we know that how everything's running is truly how we want it to be, and we don't end up finishing a whole field of corn and come to the realization that, man, we really had something messed up. This is also the time when I get to run the combine, so I get to feel like big man on the totem pole, but it's only for a few hundred yards, so it keeps me humble. What we're noticing is a number of kernels just directly right underneath the combine, and since we know they're under the combine, it's got to be attributed to header loss, which is one of the issues that we're going to run into, I'm afraid, for the continuation of the fall, is just how dry everything ended up. Now we're just going to have more header loss, more shatter loss, and we saw it on the soybeans, now we'll continue to see it in the corn. Looks like nice number 2 corn, definitely dry to the touch. We'll see what it looks like when we put it in the moisture tester. First harvested load coming out at 13% moisture, 57.3 pounds. So we will let Dad know. First sample at 13% moisture, 57.3 pounds. This is the part where it's just turning and burning. Mom just filled us up off the grain cart. This is load number 3 now, coming off the cornfield. Everything continues to stay dry. Everything's running smooth, knock on wood. And we will continue to make hay while the sun's shining. For those of you who may not be super familiar with the seasons in Minnesota, instead of the 4 seasons that most areas have, we've got 2. Winter and construction season. Unfortunately this year we've got the bridge that's down less than 2 miles from our farm, so we're having to take a lot more gravel just to get back to the farm with a lot of our loads that are to the north. So inconvenient, but we're making do. Jumped in the grain cart here with Mom quick while she's helped filling the truck for me. How's it going in the grain cart today, Mom?
That's going pretty good. The corn is super dry, so like loading a semi is easy because it all levels out without me hardly even having to move.
Yep. Have the ears been hanging low on the plants? Have you noticed that?
No, it's actually, this one's pretty good, but I jumped in the combine just a little bit ago to help grease the chains, and we're at 11.3% is what the combine's telling me on the corn.
Yep, really dry out here.
And you can tell when we got out earlier too that when we husked a couple and you could just pick them right off, it's dry.
So, having your days of soybean harvest behind you now, corn harvest to come, which do you prefer?
Well, soybeans are, we get so many less bushels that I kind of sit in here, but now I'm super busy and I got used to corn, so I forgot to pick him up halfway through the field because I got lazy. So, you know.
Yep, it is nice how soybean harvest comes first, gets you warmed up to it, and then when corn harvest comes, you stay a lot busier, like you said.
Yeah, because I have to pick him up halfway through the field where he can make a round, or actually this year almost 2 rounds with the beans before I had to pick him up. So yeah, it definitely makes a difference.
Uh-oh, it looks like everybody's waiting on me. Touch base with Mom here, see how it's going in the field. What's the update, Mom?
Well, it keeps plugging in the corn head, so it's not been going very well, but we're going to take those rubber pieces off and then hopefully it feeds in better and we can keep going.
That's not what she told me. She said her biggest pain point today has been Dad keeps saying she's lollygagging when she's actually dilly-dallying.
That's not true.
So we're here at the combine now. Since the corn's been running so dry, Dad said our thought is try taking these ear savers off. And what's the hope there, Dad, if we do that?
Just to get the ears to feed in easier without the static electricity coming in contact with the plastic.
Sure. See here in the center 4, we just have 1 ear saver on right here versus our outside rows, which we have 2. So again, we're trying to reduce the static buildup that we have. It's an issue that just kind of happens later in the day as well, I would say, so that's why maybe we didn't do it earlier, but now we'll try just 1 instead of 2. Appreciate everybody's support for Harvest 2024. In a lot of ways,